Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in the words of the RAMBAM. Hilchos Avodah Zarah, Perek Aleph. We're in the Mishnah, in Halacha Aleph as well. And we're describing the Hishtalshus, which means the historical chain of Avodah Zarah. Now we began with Enosh. Enosh and his generation, he's the grandson of Adam HaRishon. They began shifting the way in which they wanted to honor HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And they said that since the stars and the moon and the sun and the planets are up there in Shemaim together with Hashem, it must be that Hashem has placed them that high because they're like His ministers. And just as in the world down here, when you go to see the king, you honor the ministers along the way because that's a kavod, that's an honor and a glory to the king. So too we must honor and glorify the ministers because that is the way that we will give the proper honor to Hashem. Now remember, the Rambam calls this a ta'us gedola. It is a very grave error that they made over here. I'll read a little bit more of the Rambam, then we need to explain why did that generation make such a mistake. V'kach heim oimrim am v'keven she'ala davar zeh al livam. Since this idea entered their minds, they began building for the stars sanctuaries, and they built for them, and they brought them korbanos, sacrifices, and they praised them, they extolled them bidvarim, with words, they would bow down opposite them, to be able to reach what they claimed was the will of Hashem, but it was with their evil ideas that they had. V'zeh ha'ikar Avodah Zarah, says the Rambam, a very powerful statement. This itself is Avodah Zarah. This Avodah Zarah does not mean idol worship as we translate often. Avodah is service, Zarah is strange. When you change the way in which you serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are making Avodah Zarah, you are making strange service of Hashem, or strange service of something else. And that is not considered Avodas Hashem. It is Avodah Zarah. Avodas Hashem means you're serving Hashem. Avodah Zarah means that you are serving something else in a bizarre and strange and a different kind of a way. And therefore, this is what the people of that generation were doing. They changed the rules of Avodas Hashem, and they thought that they're doing nothing wrong. And says the Rambam, they should know they're doing everything wrong because this is itself, Zehaya Ikar Avodah Zarah, that itself is nothing less than the main prohibition of Avodah Zarah. V'kachem oimrim avdei hayodim ikara. And this is what those who served, this the Rambam says was the rationale of those that were worshipping these stars. Not, and he explains what was the rationale. They didn't say, well, there's no God besides for this star. Meaning we're not divorcing ourselves of the belief in Hashem. Hu sheyirmiyahu oimer mila yirecha melech hagoyim ki lecho yaseh ki b'chol chachmei hagoyim v'chol malchusam me'ein kamoicha. He quotes a pasuk over here from the Yirmiyahu that says, "Who will not fear you, King of the nations? To you it's fitting. Among all the wise men of the nations and all their kingdoms, there is none like you. They have one foolish and senseless notion. They conceive of their empty teachings as wood," which means, as he writes over here, what were they saying? Uba'achas yivar v'chaslo musa avolim eitzu. Kloimar, that means to say, HaKol Yodin, everybody knows. Shatu HaKel Levadecha, you alone are Hashem. Aval Te'usam Ukislusam. But the mistake and the foolishness of that generation was Shemedamin Shezeh Hevel Ritzein Chahu. They made a mistake that what? That this Hevel, that this foolishness and emptiness is your will, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning, It's true that they believed in Hashem. If you would ask a person in that generation, you believe in God? Of course, He created the world. He was Ma'azedes, He was Adam Arishon's, the one who created Adam and brought us into this world and everything that He did, of course. But He also wants us to give honor to His ministers. And that must mean the celestial beings that are in the heavens. And therefore we're not chas v'chalila saying we don't believe in God. We believe in God. But we believe that this is the way that Hashem wants us to serve Him. And that was a to'us gedola, that was a very big mistake, says the RAMBAM. Okay, the next time, Be'ez Hashem, we'll have to speak about what could possibly have brought that generation to change the rules of Avodas Hashem. All the best. Have a wonderful Shabbos.